Before we get into the heart of tools, let's start with something fun, and you can follow along if you wish. It's very simple. Let us pick the brush tool. By the way, you can download this photo or any practice file in this lesson, link in the description. Let's start with the soul. And what is the window to the soul? The eyes. Simply zoom into the eyes. We learned how to zoom in, holding the spacebar and the command key, drag to the right to zoom in, drag to the left to zoom out, and then let's create a new layer by clicking on the plus button. With the brush selected, remember what the brush paints with. It paints with whatever color there is in the foreground. Right now the foreground color is black and the background color is white. We can always swap it by clicking on the swap button, or you can always press X to switch that as well. Now simply just zoom in even further, look at where the catch light is, and just on the opposite side of the catch light with a soft brush, simply dab. How do we make sure we have a soft brush? Click on the arrow at the top. You want to open up General Brushes and choose the soft round brush. You can click elsewhere to close it and just make the brush size as big as the iris. Go to the opposite direction and just dab. That's it. Go to the other eye. How do we do that? Holding the spacebar, the cursor changes to a hand, you move to the other eye, and then do the same thing right there. And now here's the magic. Simply change the blend mode. If you don't do that, it looks like a ghost. Change the blend mode from normal to overlay. We'll talk about blend modes later, but have a look at it. Have a look at the light to the eyes. It's crazy. Here's the before, here's the after. But there's a problem. The brush obviously painted on other areas where we didn't want it to. So let's make the brush smaller. We learned how to do that. Square bracket keys right and left to make the brush smaller and larger. And we know that painting paints. But how do we erase that? If you hold the tilde key, the key to the left of 1 as you're painting, the brush turns into an eraser. So let's move closer to the eyes, hold the tilde key and just erase the extras. You can also erase the insides if you wish to. There you go. Fantastic. Let's move to the other eye and do the same. There you go. See how easy it was to use a simple brush to add brilliant light to the eyes. Here's the before, here's the after. And if at any point in time you think that the shine in the eyes is way too much, you can always decrease the opacity of that layer by making sure that the layer is selected and then simply decrease the opacity. You can click on that arrow and use this slider to decrease the opacity. As you decrease the opacity, as you can see, it's becoming more and more transparent. So I'm going to keep it right about 50%. You can also change the opacity by hovering over where it says opacity. Click and drag to the right or left to easily do that as well. We'll take a look at that at the layers lesson. For now, this is more than enough. Here's the before, here is the after. Just a little change makes a massive difference. Now let's talk about the tools and the toolbar. If you're not spoiled by your mom, maid or spouse, you probably have been to the kitchen. Inside of the kitchen, you may have witnessed the knife, whisk, spatula, and a lot of other utensils. However, you cannot use the knife to flip a pancake, or you cannot use the spatula to chop an onion. Every utensil has a specific task that it can do. Similarly, in Photoshop, we have tools which are utensils inside a toolbar, which is your kitchen drawer. So here's your toolbar. It has a lot of tools, just like your kitchen drawer having a lot of utensils, like the brush tool, paints, text tool, writes text, and we covered that in lesson 1. But to keep your utensils organized, aka tools, similar tools are grouped together, and you can call them tool groups. If you have a look at the tools, you would notice that some tools have a small arrow right next to it. It simply means that if you click and hold, there will be other tools in that particular group, and they are similar in nature. For example, if we open this particular group, the healing group, you would notice that tools here are used to remove stuff, replace stuff, starting with, for example, the patch tool. By the way, I recommend doing everything on a separate layer, keeping things non-destructive. Now, since the patch tool doesn't work on an empty layer, I'm going to select the background layer and press Ctrl or Command J to make a copy. We learned this in lesson 1. Don't worry, we will learn patch tool in detail soon. Now we are going to make a selection around the stuff that you want to remove or replace. So I'm making a selection around this person, give it a little bit of space of course, and then just drag it towards the stuff that you want to replace it with, and just let it go. And it's gone. Press Ctrl or Command D to remove the marching ants or deselect. Again, we'll learn this later on. Let's make a selection of this area as well and remove that. For patch tool to work, you want to make sure that it's set to source. Again, don't worry about it right now. We will cover the patch tool later. Similarly, in the same group, you will find the remove tool, which is used for similar purposes. Let's take a look at this example. For the remove tool, my settings are this. You can copy these exact settings. Remember, right here at the top, we have the options bar. And what does the options bar do? It simply shows you the settings for the tool that is active. All the settings for the remove tool, which is the tool that is active right now, is shown at the top. Do not forget, we need to work non-destructively, which means let's create a new layer first. You also want to make sure sample all layers is checked, and then let's loop around this. Again, if none of this is making sense, don't worry, we will cover these tools in detail later. For right now, I'm just trying to explain what tool groups are and how similar tools are grouped into the same group. And Photoshop should take a little while depending on your setting, and it's gone. And since it is on a new layer, you can turn it off, on, or if there's something wrong, you can adjust it. That is the power of non-destructive editing. So what did we learn so far? Whenever you see that tiny arrow next to a tool, it simply means that there are more tools in that particular group. And how do we access that? By clicking and holding. For instance, if you want to access more tools in this particular group, click and hold and the other tools will show up. You select whatever tool you need, you let go, and that tool will be selected. So what do you do when you don't see your toolbar? Full panic, like your exam time is up and you have left the entire paper. Don't worry about it. All you have to do, if you don't see the toolbar, if it's lost, we learned about this. Any panel, any bar in Photoshop can be found inside where? Window. Let's click there, scroll down, and you will find tools. Click on that and your toolbar will show up. Secondly, you can dock the toolbar wherever you want. You see the grid at the top? Looks like the front of a Jeep. Just hold it. It allows you to drag it wherever you want. And as soon as you see the blue thing, let go, it docks there. You can actually dock it wherever you want. Just hold it from there. And you can even dock it here if that's what you fancy. Just hold it. Let's see if we can dock it somewhere there. No, we cannot. We can dock it here, on this side. Totally up to you. But this seems most natural to me. Now, before we start actually cooking, we need to set up our kitchen. Your mom would be proud of you. Right here in Photoshop, there are several ways we can customize our toolbar. First, you can decide whether you want your tools in 2 columns or 1 column. You can easily do that by clicking on this arrow right there. Click once, it's all in 1 line. If you like that, go with it. If you want it in 2 lines, click on that arrow again. Now it's in 2 columns. You can also decide which tools you see, which tools you don't see, which group they belong in, their order, everything. And it's easier than you think. So all you need to do is to click and hold on those 3 dots, go to Edit, Toolbar. If your toolbar doesn't look like mine, because obviously I have customized it a lot, simply click on Restore Defaults. Hit Continue. Now your toolbar exactly looks like mine, unless you have customized it, of course. Here you can set the order. For example, right here at the top, we have the Move tool. If right after the Move tool, you want the Crop tool or the entire cropping group, you can just hover over the edge and it should do the trick. Click and hold and bring it right here at the top, right after the Move tool. And have a look. The order is changed. You can also bring tools out of the group to make it more simpler for you to navigate. So let's say you use the Patch tool too much. Here's the Patch tool. Also, you use the Remove tool too much, like we just did. And both of them are in the same group, and selecting them is cumbersome because I have to click and hold and open each of those tools. So you can bring these individual tools outside of the group. Let's say I want a separate section for just the Remove tool. Bring it out and place it here. So I have the Remove tool separate. It doesn't have that arrow, which means that this Remove tool is on its own. Also, you can hide the tools that you do not need. For example, I don't use the Count tool. Maybe it's important for you, not so much for me. I'm just going to drag it and drop it inside of Extra Tools, so it will not show up right there. Let's scroll down. Let's say I don't use the History brush or the Art History brush tool. Just drag the entire group inside of Extra Tools, and that just goes away from there. Similarly, let's scroll down and say you don't use the Dodge tool, Burn tool, and that entire group. Just drag that inside of this. Now have a look. This just goes away. It helps you clean the clutter. Now, before we go any further, what did we learn so far? We can have the toolbar in 1 column or 2 column. If you want to edit it further, set the order of tools, bring tools outside of a group, or even remove the extra tools that you do not need or hide them. You can easily do that by clicking on the three dots and going to Edit Toolbar. Now let's start from scratch and create our own custom toolbar. You can create your own according to your tastes, but this is just a starting point. Anytime you feel that it is a mess, you can always click on Restore Defaults, and it is the default toolbar. So all these tools are something I need. Slice tool, not useful for me. Frame tool, I don't use it. It's actually a good tool. I also don't use the ruler tool, the note tool, or even the count tool. Let's keep them removed as well. The red eye tool is very ancient, so remove that. Also, as we did before, the history brush, art history, both tools, not so useful to me. And again, if you find it useful, you can keep yours. And by the way, you can always reset this at any time. Magic eraser tool was useful in the older versions of Photoshop, not as much now. Dodge tool, burn tool, there are non-destructive ways of doing that. So I'm just going to drag it and drop it right there. And keep in mind, these are all just personal preference. So once you have made your favorite setup, you can just click on done. But here's an issue. What if you mess it up? What if you accidentally click on Edit Toolbar by clicking on the three dots and holding it, going to Edit Toolbar? What if you accidentally click on Restore Defaults and everything is reset? Therefore, to be safe, I always recommend saving this as a preset. Click on Save Preset and let's just name it Pix Minimal, and you can save it wherever you want and click on Save. Now, even if I click on Restore Defaults or mess things up here and there, you can always get back to the minimal preset that we just saved. For example, this is all messed up. I want to go back to how we saved it. So let's click on the three dots, hold it, go to Edit Toolbar, click on Load Preset. This is the one that we had saved. Click on that and click on Open. We are back to how we had saved it. Click on Done. And here we are, very minimal, very easy to use toolbar. Now I'm going to share with you a problem, a big problem, panic situation. Here we have selected the brush tool and I'm trying to paint on the canvas. But no matter what we do, nothing is happening. No matter how much you press your mouse button or you play with your graphic tablet, nothing is happening. This is one of those situations where some of us like to bang our head on the wall. To prevent yourself from doing that, before even learning what the problem is, if you are a beginner, you can do this. Click on the arrow right next to the tool in the options bar. So if the brush tool is selected, right next to the brush, there will be a drop down. Click on that. And then click on the gear icon and then choose Reset Tool. That will reset that particular tool to its default settings. Click on that and now it should paint no problem. You can pick whatever brush tip you want, it should paint. By the way, for the record, the blend mode was different. That is why it was not painting, but that's advanced for later. All you need to know is that if something is not working as it should, you can always reset that particular tool by clicking on that arrow. For example, if we choose the Move tool, right next to the Move tool, there is an arrow. Click on that, click on the gear icon, choose Reset Tool. That will set it to its default. By the way, in lesson 1, we learned that we don't like Show Transform Control turned on, so I'm just going to turn it off. Now it is time to jump into the most common tools, the most foundational tools in Photoshop, starting with the Crop tool. Shortcuts are important, and the shortcut for the Crop tool is, guess, C for crop. C is the shortcut. Press C for the crop tool and you will see some crop controls. If you don't see crop controls, let's say we click elsewhere or let's say we apply the crop. Right now the crop tool is selected, but there is no crop control. Simply click on the image to see the crop control again. Now before we even start cropping, there is one setting that we need to be absolutely scared of, and that is delete cropped pixels. And by default, this will be turned on. And this can turn your life hell. If you check it, and then let's say I cropped like so, and we applied. And after this, you made some adjustments, you did a lot of things, and then you decided, I actually want a little more of this area, and I want to get that area back in. Unfortunately, you cannot. If you click again, and you try to expand, it's gone. It's deleted. You don't want to be in that situation. Now, if you're a professional, there are certain use cases of this, but for the most part, in all of my career, I have kept it turned off. So make sure we turn it off. I'm going to repeat that again for you for emphasis, for your safety, both mental and physical. Please keep delete cropped pixels turned off. Now when you click, and now when you crop, like so, and you hit enter or return to apply it, you click again, you can crop again. And expand and see the rest of the photos. Hit enter or return to apply it. Now, cropping in Photoshop can be as simple as you do on your phone apps or your camera app. Here as well, you have certain ratios that you can choose from, or you can go freehand. We still have the crop tool selected. Remember what the shortcut for the crop tool is? C. Let's click to see the crop controls, and right here at the top, you will have the options. Why? Because the options bar shows you the option for whatever tool that is active. So using the same concept in the options bar, you have the first drop down. Here, you can pick, for example, square aspect ratio. This will make sure that no matter how you crop, this will be a fixed square all the time. And again, hit enter or return to crop it. Another ones could be 16:9. This is 16:9 aspect ratio. You can keep it this way. You have the rule of thirds to guide you if you need it. Hit enter or return to apply it. So there are many fixed ratios that you can choose from. 16:9, 4:5. If you want to type in your own ratio, that is also possible. Just simply click on clear, and then you can type in something like 21:9. Why not? And then you can crop it accordingly, and it will be fixed to 21:9. Hit enter or return to apply it. If you don't want to use fixed ratios and you want to crop freehand like we did before, simply click again, and this time, instead of these numbers showing up, no matter where you are at, just click on clear. And now you can just crop however you want. There's also another setting inside of cropping that can change the resolution, like this one, these settings. We are not going to get into that for now. It's a little more advanced, and it can actually change the resolution of the image. If you don't know what you're doing, it can damage your photo. So let's stay away from that for now. Now, how do we straighten a photo? This is pretty darn simple. Let's select the crop tool. What is the shortcut again? Press C for the crop tool. Now let's click on clear. And by the way, here's another thing. If you want to crop it according to the original ratio of the image, just click on the drop down and choose original ratio, and the original would show up. Now to straighten it, you just have to find or assume a line in the image that should have been straight in the photo. In this case, it's the horizon line. Now, of course, you can take the cursor outside of the crop bounds and you can rotate from there, but we don't want to do that. Press Ctrl or Command Z to go back. Instead, you can use the dedicated straighten feature. Let's click on the icon to activate it and simply just drag a line along the horizon, or any line that should have been straight. Like so. There you go. Once you let go, it adjusts for it, and now it is absolutely straight. Hit enter or return. Done. Here's the before, crooked. Here's the after. Now you might have noticed that whenever we straighten something, a little bit gets cut off around the corners. Here's the before. See all those details around the corners? Here's the after. A little bit of that got cut off. Don't worry, we'll also learn how to expand that. Now let me share with you my favorite feature, actually a very useful feature for you inside of the crop tool. But to have that feature working, you need to go to your Photoshop preferences. On a Mac, it is under Photoshop and Settings. On Windows, it is under Edit and then Preferences somewhere here. So let's go to Photoshop, Settings, or Edit, Preferences in Windows. Inside of that, go to Tools. And then you want to make sure Show Reference Point when using Transform is checked. Hit OK. It should work. If it doesn't, restart Photoshop. Now when you select the crop tool, the shortcut to which is C, you will see a point. And this point is called the reference point. And it's actually very special. Right now, if you crop from the corner, it crops from that corner using the original ratio. Let's clear it so we can crop it freehand. But either way, if we crop from the corner, it crops from the corner. But what if you want to crop from the center? You hold the Alt key or the Option key, and then when you crop, it crops from the center. And why do you think it is cropping from the center? Because in the center, we have this reference point. Now here's what's crazy. If you move the reference point to somewhere, let's say here, to the eye, and now when you hold the Alt key or the Option key, and now when you try to crop it, it crops using that as the axis. So darn good. So here you can use the rule of thirds if you wish. Let's move the crop so that the point of interest is there. We can move the anchor point there. And by the way, you can drag and move, or you can hold the Alt key or the Option key and click, and it will move there. I want it to move to the eye. And now when you crop it, by again holding the Alt key or the Option key, click and drag the bounds. There you go. See how awesome that is? It uses that as an axis. So I can crop something like so, hit enter or return. And there we have the rule of thirds followed. I'm not saying you have to follow it, but you have some space for the copy. And this gives you so much flexibility. Similarly, let's say you wanted to crop this photo, but from the top as the axis. Let's click. You can place the anchor point right there. It should stick right there. And then when you hold the Alt key or the Option key, it crops from that particular point. Hit enter or return to apply. And that is my favorite way to crop. And by the way, rule of thirds is not the only overlay that shows up. With the crop tool, if you click, here you have the rule of thirds, right? If you click on this icon at the top, you have the grid if you want it. You have the golden spiral if you want that. You have the golden ratio if that's what you like. So let us select the golden spiral. With the golden spiral selected, if I press Shift O, it will change the orientation of that spiral. Also, you can change the overlay by just pressing O, and it will cycle between the different overlays. Since we like the rule of thirds, it's just easy to follow along. Let's keep it at that. And there you have it. Now it is time for us to learn how to expand images. And you have a choice whether you want to use AI to fill those areas or you don't want to use AI. Completely up to you. Let's say we want to expand this. Press C for the crop tool and say we want a square version of this. For that, in the ratio section, let's pick square, 1:1 ratio. Hold the Alt key or the Option key, click and drag from one of the corners to make it larger. Now there are these empty areas. Before applying, you can make this choice right here in the fill section. You have a couple options. Transparent is the default. If you hit enter, those areas will remain transparent as they usually do. You can choose generative expand. This is using AI. Keep in mind, according to your plan, it may cost credits. Right now, at the moment of recording this video, there are certain unlimited exceptions. If you want more details about that, I'll leave that in the description. But for right now, you also have content-aware fill option. So let's try both of them. First of all, let's try content-aware fill and hit enter or return. What content-aware fill does, it's a non-AI feature inside of Photoshop. It looks at the available areas inside the image and tries to just fill those areas by copying those areas, and they may not be always accurate. For simple expansions, they may work perfectly fine, but for many cases, it's not as good, but we can always manually fix it. Another option is using AI. Let's go back to how it was. With the crop tool selected to see the cropping controls, what do? We click. It's already square, let's expand it, but this time let us choose generative expand. Hit enter. Now it will ask whether you want a prompt or not. I'm just going to leave it blank, and you can click here to choose the model. Let us choose the latest model, which was released in January 2026. Maybe by the time you're watching this, maybe you have a newer model. Either way, let's click on generate. Since I'm on the Creative Cloud Pro plan, it's not costing me credits for this particular model. I'm not sure what's going to happen in the future. I'm not sure about what other plans will be. So be informed about what is available at this moment for you. This gives you 3 options and all of them look pretty good. Here's the first. Either someone is getting married or there's a concert happening nearby. I don't know. Sorry about that. All of these 3 options are pretty good. Here's the first one, second one, and third one. Second one looks kind of weird. So let's go with the first one. And if you're not satisfied by all 3 of those, you can click on generate again. First, second, third. If you like a particular result, by the way, you can upscale it too. But in this case, it's blurred anyway, so that's not really required. But just to show you what it actually is, if I were to click on this button right next to the corner, it will allow you to upscale it and enhance the detail. But in this case, again, it doesn't make sense. Here's the before upscaling. Here's the after. It will have more detail right there. Now, what do you do if you want to have a look at the options again? Because right now they seem to be lost. Here's that layer. Remember, you can access the options for your generation inside of the properties panel. So with that generative layer selected, you can open up the properties. Remember, we docked it in here in the first lesson. If you cannot see the properties panel, what did we learn? Any panel in Photoshop can be found inside where? Window. Go to Window, open up Properties. Where did that go? There it is. And here you have all those options back again. Just a little nugget in case you were feeling lost. Now it is time for us to move to the Move tool, the shortcut to which is M. No, it's V. Why is it V? I don't know. Ask the Photoshop creators. I'm not responsible for that. But either way, here we are. How do we remember that? The move kind of sounds like it ends with V, like move. And therefore, you can remember the shortcut to which is V, move. As the name suggests, the move tool is used for moving. And again, what is the shortcut? If you are in any tool, if you press V, you go to what? The move tool. Now, to make sure that we are on the same page, simply click on the right drop down next to the move tool icon, click on the gear, and then reset tool. You can also reset all tools, but we don't want to do that. And now, you would notice that whatever layer is selected, it automatically shows transform controls right next to it, which can make it very, very distracting. And that is why the first thing we do is turn that off. Secondly, if you hover over any layer, you see a blue bound around that object. For example, this is layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, layer 4, and the white background. Whichever layer that we hover over, you will see a blue bound next to that. Similarly, if I hover over those objects, those layers are highlighted, and that also can be distracting. It's at least distracting to me. If it is to you too, you can click on the gear icon and just turn all of those off. This is how I like my move tool. Nothing distracting me, no highlighting, everything just clear cut. I also like to turn off auto select. We'll get to that later, but for right now, simply just uncheck auto select. We know that the move tool moves things, but let's dive deeper into that. Let's create some text. Click on the text tool and click anywhere, and let's type in dragon. You can also double click on the T to select all the text and click here to change its color to possibly white. Hit OK. We already learned that all the options for the tool activated is where? In the options bar, so I'm going to probably choose a different font. You can choose a font of your choice, up to you, Nobel, and maybe bold condensed. Now the move tool is something that we always get back to, and we will learn this time and again. Once we have the text done, we will select the move tool right here, just so that we can move it around, or resize it, rotate it, transform it, up to you. Press Ctrl or Command T for the transform controls to show up. Now we are going to just make it bigger, like so. Now when it comes to aligning things with the move tool, you will see that you have the options here to center it horizontally and vertically, but they are grayed out. Why are they grayed out? Because if you click on the three dots, you'll notice that the align to is set to selection. And since there is no selection, all of these things are grayed out. So let's make a selection. Let's say I want to keep the dragon text in between the eye of the dragon and the edge of the document. So we will choose the rectangular marquee tool, this tool right there. It simply makes a selection in a rectangle. And we will start a selection from right here to the edge of the document like so. And right now the selection is active. And how can we say that? You see the marching ants going on? It simply means that there is a selection active. Now you will notice that now when we get back to the move tool, all of these buttons are now active. And why so? Because there is a selection. Now if you were to click on this button right there, it will keep it in the center of that particular selection. How cool is that? Now how do we remove a selection? In other words, how do we deselect? We press Ctrl or Command D to deselect, to make that selection go away. Now that the selection is gone, all of these buttons are grayed out again because the align is set to selection. Let's make another selection. Again, select the rectangular marquee tool, and this time I want the dragon in between the nostril and the edge of the document for whatever reason. Let's do it this way. And then let's get back to the move tool. What is the shortcut to the move tool? Move, V. Press V. By the way, the text tool is an exception. If you're using the text tool and you want to get back to the move tool, sometimes you're typing, and if you press V, it will just type V. So in those cases, you may have to select the move tool. Anyway, back to this. Now, since there is a selection, these buttons are active. Let's center it, and there you have it. This looks nice. You can also center it vertically like this. And of course, there are all of these buttons too. Let's keep it this way. Ctrl or Command D to deselect. With the move tool selected, obviously there is another option. If you click on the three dots, you can set align to canvas. What this means is that now the object will align to the entirety of the canvas, and since we don't need a selection, all of these buttons become activated. Ctrl or Command 0 to fit it. And now if you press this, it will center at the center of the canvas. And obviously these other buttons would work too. Let's center it again. Now here's something interesting. Even though this is set to align to canvas, if you were to make a selection, like let's select the rectangular marquee tool and make a selection like so, if you go back to the move tool, you would notice that now when you click on these buttons, it happens according to the selection, even if it's set to align to canvas. So why not always set it to align to canvas? Which means that when you don't have a selection, let's press Ctrl or Command D to deselect. It will align to the entirety of the canvas. And when you do have a selection, it will align according to the selection like so. Let's go back to the move tool. There you have it. So why not always set it to canvas? And that's what I recommend for most of the time. Now let's talk about auto select layers. I actually have a better solution for you. So here we have a simple arrangement, a simple white background on top of that 4 layers, the red one on top of that yellow, green, and blue. Keep in mind we have the move tool selected, the shortcut to which is V. Let's say I move the cursor over the blue ball. If I try to move it, it doesn't move the blue ball. Instead, it moves the red ball, which is layer 1. And why does it do that? Because layer 1 is selected. Similarly, if I select the green layer, which is layer 3, and then if I try to move the yellow ball, it doesn't do that. It only moves the green one. Why? Because that particular layer is selected. So at this point, when auto select is turned off, whatever layer is selected, only that will move, no matter how much you try to move something else. And that's why I love it, because I accidentally don't move anything else. So this is straightforward, right? You can select whatever layer you want to move, and then you move it. That's it. You don't accidentally move something else which you did not intend to. Now, when you turn on auto select, it automatically selects. Let's check right there. Now, even if layer 1 is selected, the red ball is selected. If I were to click on the blue ball, that layer automatically gets selected. And if I try to move it, only that thing moves. If I were to click and move the green ball, it automatically selects that layer and that moves. And that, my friend, is auto select. Similarly for the yellow ball, click and move, automatically that layer is selected. Now this seems convenient, but in actual design or compositing works, it creates more issues than needed. For example, this is only the position from where I can move one of these. So if I wanted to move the green one and I accidentally click here, it moves the blue one. Or sometimes when I want to move the blue one, it moves the green one. Secondly, what happens when the opacities are varying for these balls? Now holding them creates a confusion for you as to which one will move. So it is always a safe bet to turn off auto select. That way you select the layer that you want to move and you move it. However, here's a hybrid solution that is even better. You can momentarily turn on auto select. So right now, I'm having to select layer 1 if I want to move it. I'm having to select layer 4 if I want to move it. I cannot move anything else. But if you were to hold the Control key on Windows and the Command key on Mac, and now when you hover over and click, yellow is selected. And you can let go and you can move it or you can keep it holding, that's up to you. Hold the Control or Command. See, it momentarily turns on the auto select and then you can just select and move whatever you want. As soon as you let go of the Control or Command, it's unchecked again. So that's a hybrid approach. And finally, always remember, Move tool is something that you always get back to. What is the shortcut again? V, move, remember that. Let's say we get to the brush tool. What is the shortcut to the brush tool? B, we'll take a look at it later. Let's say on a separate layer, I just signed or created a graphic like so. Once you do, you would want to move it, right? Because you're done with the brush. So what do you press? V, and then you move it, press Ctrl or Command T to resize it, to turn it, to rotate it. So the move tool is something that you always get back to. Quick refresher, what is the shortcut for the crop tool? C. Shortcut for the move tool? V. And how do you customize your toolbar? Click and hold on the 3 dots, go to Edit Toolbar, and from here, there's a bunch of stuff you can do. This is the end of part 1 for your Introduction to Tools in your Photoshop for Beginners series, and we are only scratching the surface. We don't want to overload you with information, so take in whatever we learned. You can always use these chapters to skip to any part of this lesson. And remember to not only watch, but follow along and create something awesome for yourself. Know the kitchen and its utensils and their applications and real-world uses inside of Photoshop. And also, if you can do it outside of Photoshop, you'll make your mom proud. Thank you so much for watching this one. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, stay tuned and make sure that you keep creating.